Aphrodite, the Mediterranean Grail. Welcome back to another episode of Wild Feminine Magic. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Let's get into the video. Beautiful goddess Aphrodite emerges out of sea foam on her ship-like seashell. She comes to us from the ancient creation myths that call the oceans our source of life, fertility and renewal. But, as we search for the ancestry of Aphrodite, we have to go beyond her Mediterranean and Western Asia origins so we can explore her historic connections to the great African mother Hathor. The Cypriot goddess is worshipped in a similar manner, through the life-giving feminine principle of water and milk. Plutarch also references water with the birth of Isis, the great waters which produced all living things. The Egyptian god Nun and the goddess Nut were expressed in hieroglyphic as pots of water. The goddess was identified with Hathor's celestial star-spangled cow, the original mother of the sun god, and the word Nun was a symbol of all that was new, young, and fresh, and the fertilizing and life-giving waters of the annual inundation of the Nile. Hathor was the daughter of these waters, as Aphrodite was sprung from the sea foam. Why is Aphrodite's iconography connected to seashells? Aphrodite's shell is the Nauplius, depicted as a shellfish, with its sail-like pommule spread out to the wind, a ship-like shellfish sailing over the surface of the water, the Concha Venerea. A ship bearing the Great Mother is extremely ancient and originally referred to the crescent moon carrying the moon goddess across the heavenly ocean. She is associated with cowrie shells, nautilus and octopus, which all are life-giving symbols of the Great Mother Ocean. As the giver of life, the cowrie came to have been attributed to it by some people's definite powers of creation. A bowl of water became the symbol of the fruitfulness of women. Such symbolism implied that woman, or her uterus, was a receptacle into which the seminal fluid was poured and from which a new being emerged in a flood of amniotic fluid. Cowrie shells were worn as bracelets, necklaces, or hair ornaments, to confer health and good luck in both sexes. The Mediterranean people believed in the cowrie's ability to give life and birth long before the shell amulet became personified as a woman. The burial of shells with the dead is an extremely ancient practice, for cowries have been found upon human skeletons of the so-called Upper Paleolithic age of southern Europe. The cultural uses of shells were borrowed from the Erythraean area and fully developed shell cults of the eastern Mediterranean many centuries later. The cult of Aphrodite was popular in the Mediterranean. Aphrodite became a protectress of love, marriages and travels across the great oceans and held sway in many realms: sex, marriage, fertility, sailing, civic order, even war. The breadth and diversity of Aphrodite's powers meant that a single city might have multiple shrines, each dedicated to specific aspects of the goddess. The recurrent theme for her devotees was her capacity to create harmony and union. This could be purely sexual, or could pertain to marriage or fertility. Her numerous shrines and temples have been discovered in Crete, Greece, Cyprus, Italy, Spain and much of the Mediterranean. The cult of the goddess in the northwest Peloponnese, central and northern Greece, and the Greek colonies. Her most important cult center in the Mediterranean was the island of Kypros, Cyprus, where mysteries were celebrated in her honor. The Cyprian Aphrodite was closely associated with the Phoenician goddess Astarte on the Syrian mainland. In Minoan Crete, Aphrodite is worshipped as a fertility goddess and a deity of religious rites, particularly the conch shell trumpet, as discovered by archaeologist Sir Arthur Evans. Elis in southern Greece is full of temples of Aphrodite and the Nymphae. They are sacred precincts that are generally full of flowers because of the abundance of water. The Avaira, Achaia, worship most devoutly Aphrodite, Urania the heavenly. Into the sanctuary of the goddess they enter on stated days and perform customary purifications. Aphrodite is also associated with the octopus. The cult of Aphrodite was based upon a pre-existing zoological philosophy. Trumel claims that Aphrodite was a personification of the octopus and links the Red Sea spider shell, Pterocera, between the cowrie and the octopus. This shell was used, like the cowrie, for funerary purposes in Egypt and as a trumpet in India. The identification of the Great Mother with a pot was one of the factors that played a part in the assimilation of her attributes with those of the water god, who in early Sumerian pictures was usually represented pouring the life-giving waters from his pot. This idea of the mother pot is found not only in Babylonia, Egypt, India and the Eastern Mediterranean, but wherever the influence of these ancient civilizations made itself felt. It is widespread among the Celtic-speaking peoples. At first it was merely a jug of water or a basket of figs, but elsewhere it became also a witch's cauldron, the magic cup and the Holy Grail. The Celtic pot is closely associated with cows, serpents, frogs, dragons, birds, pearls, and 9 maidens that blow the fire under the cauldron, and, if the nature of these relationships be examined, each of them will be found to be a link between the pot and the Great Mother. Aphrodite is the symbol of the birth of life, creation and water's powerful life-giving properties. She became regarded as the matrix in which the seed was planted and nurtured during the course of its growth and development. In the earliest Egyptian hieroglyphic writing, the picture of a globular water pot, the common phonetic value of which is NW or Nu, was the symbol of the cosmic waters, the goddess Nut. Aphrodite is a personification of the Grail and the flow of life, continuously emptying herself, overflowing, and receiving more. She is the matrix of perfect harmony in the universe when we are in tune with it. Like life, she brings gifts and abundance without any expectations or demands, dissolving all the obstacles that keep us separate from each other and from the whole. That brings us to the end of today's video all about Aphrodite, the Mediterranean Grail. If you enjoyed this episode, remember to leave a thumbs up and to subscribe to Wild Feminine Magic for even more fascinating content, just like this. As always, thanks for watching. See you again soon in the next one.